right, good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where you are. We are here with another watch party. Going to cover two games this morning and talk about anything else. Not trying to do the play-by-play, though I will do play-by-play here or there if they're not comments. But the idea is to turn this into, and I'll turn it into the bar car or the college football express train. So that's the goal for today. We're going to go ahead and cover Wisconsin and Alabama for today. Georgia Tech and Clemson this morning. Alabama currently an 18-point favorite in that game with Wisconsin. Clemson 2.5-point favorite, the last line I saw in Georgia Tech. There were a couple of other games this morning. Oregon is heading into Northwestern, 24-plus point favorite there. And I believe we have Oklahoma heading to Temple. There are some smaller, less prominent matchups. Those are, of course, the ones we never know what's going to happen. So appreciate everybody stopping by and hanging out with me, watching a couple of games. Later today, there's some monumental games as well. We have the Miami Hurricanes against South Florida, top 20 matchup there, number 5 versus number 18. We, of course, have Texas A&M and Notre Dame tonight. Notre Dame is 6.5-point favorite in that game. And then the college game day location for today was Georgia at Tennessee, which they're about to do those picks right now. Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite in that game. You couldn't pay me to touch that game with the spread right now. We have a bunch of teams with late-breaking injuries over the last day or so, so who knows where it's all going to go. But the entire point today really is for you guys to come in and chat. Let's talk about the games that we're watching. I'm going to primarily focus on the big screen that I have over here to the left of Wisconsin and Alabama, which I am personally, as a Canes fan, calling the Xavier Horton NIL Bowl in honor of Xavier Lucas transferring from Wisconsin to Miami and getting sued, and Miami losing wide receiver Isaiah Horton over to Alabama instantaneously, like instant iced tea, into the portal, and Miami not suing. So that's just my little spite love for that. If you're over on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it today, please think about coming over to CFB Xpress, mainly to get into the chat, give us your take and reaction to games as they're going, the big plays, things you might be seeing on another game. If you're in our chat, please hit the like button already if you're watching on YouTube so you can get us into the algorithm, hopefully get some more people in here. And really just gonna chat it up. There'll be some downtime when I'm doing some stuff. We'll take a little bit of a break at halftime to get a drink. Grab your drink. I've got mine. I'm all set. I'm excited for the afternoon games as well. So with that, I want to welcome everybody in. We have our typical spam from the bot, so we know we are definitely live. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Want to welcome my friend Illini Ted. I know it won't be popular here, but rooting for the Evil Badgers to pull off the improbable upset so there could be a complete meltdown in Tuscaloosa. Ted, my answer to that would be it's a win-win situation. I am personally rooting for Alabama for maybe one of the only times in my life because of the ongoing tensions between Wisconsin and Miami and lawsuits. But there's no lose. Because, as you're saying, should the Badgers pull off the upset, as somebody trying to build a YouTube channel and get reaction with my partner Miami Flow and the General, that will just be another story. Like, there's a story either way. Luke Fickell watch begins. Kalen DeBoer watch really kicks in. I don't imagine that happening. I personally have put, picks on Alabama to win big. But you never know. So we'll see what ultimately happens here in that game. So let me know what other games today, everybody who is in chat or comes over to chat, you guys are really looking forward to. Would love to hear it. And just give me a second. I need to move some of the screens around as Clemson comes onto the field. They won the last 9 meetings with Georgia Tech. So it'll be an interesting game. Just the entire idea of what this game, Clemson and Georgia Tech, means for the ACC race is pretty impactful. Georgia Tech, if you haven't seen their game so far this year, they looked okay, I would say, against Colorado, who we're now seeing as a 1-2 team after their loss to Houston last night. Haynes King was out this past week in more of their cupcake game. He's back this week, but his injury status is always something we have to be conscious of. Clemson has not, looked great. I thought, LSU to me was one of the teams that I thought was a national championship contender, a playoff contender at a minimum. So when they lost in that game, I wasn't exactly stunned or surprised, and I thought maybe it was just a reflection of LSU. But Clemson did not look good last week in their game against Troy. They were down 16-0. They had to have their defense come back. The offense has not clicked. This line was 9.5 at one point for that game. Came down to 2.5, I think, once they knew Haynes King was going to start. So I'm really curious to see, is this the game that Clemson steps up and starts to become the team they want? Or is Georgia Tech going to wreck their season and actually establish themselves as potentially the number 3 or 4 team in the ACC? To me right now, it's clear-cut. Miami, Florida State, Clemson, we'll see if they're what we thought they were. Louisville has not looked super impressive to me so far in their early games, and I expected more of them. Georgia Tech, we're trying to find out a little bit about today. And, of course, Alabama. Was week 1 an aberration, or is Florida State just that good? And yes, they beat Alabama handily, but Alabama is still a good team because Florida State is way better than anybody's expectations. We don't know that. We haven't really seen a game from Florida State after to measure it. My gut is that Florida State's a really good team and will have a tremendous matchup down the road with Miami in a game that could decide who's going to make the ACC playoffs. Could be a rematch, but we still have to see and let that all play out. If you missed it last night, UCLA had a very bad loss against New Mexico at a very fairly empty Rose Bowl. And Deshaun Foster, the question is making a case to be the first coach to be fired. That is a tricky situation. I don't really know. You can make the argument that that's the case, but he is also just his second year. He is also a UCLA legend, or at least a legend light at a minimum. They made the mistake of that should never have been his first job. I equate it to Randy Shannon for Miami in a different way. Miami Shannon, who's a legendary football player for Miami on national championship teams and was an excellent defensive coordinator, got the Miami Hurricanes job. Now, whether he wasn't ready for it, the administration didn't support, a combination of both, it turned sour. He got a few more years, maybe a year or two more than maybe Miami fans would have wanted. I wonder if the same thing happens for Deshaun Foster. We'll have to see what happens ultimately with that one. But thanks for being in, Ted, this morning. This morning, I am an Alabama fan. Roll Tide, beat the Badgers. You should definitely go look up YouTube. We Live for Saturdays. Follow our friends' channel there. They do a great job covering Minnesota football, but also really the Big Ten and National Football Channel coverage as well. We've had them on our show multiple times and appreciate you jumping in. Yeah, it's weird to feel like an Alabama fan, and that is definitely where I am. I never had Wisconsin on my radar to even worry about until the whole debacle with the transfer portal and Xavier Lucas. But I'm more than happy to hate on another team. So right now, this channel, we try to be fairly neutral, even with our renewed judgments on Florida State after what they did to Alabama in week 1. But we make, or at least I make, I don't want to speak for Flo in general, I make an exception when it comes to the Florida Gators, Notre Dame, and for now, Wisconsin, until and if I find out that they're supporting Miami going to the Big Ten one day. And then I'll be all about Luke Fickell. He could be my hero. But for now, he does not fit into that category whatsoever. All right, let me get the... I know the Alabama-Wisconsin game was going to kick off a little bit later, just a few minutes later as they wrapped up Big Noon. Georgia Tech is already moving the ball downfield, though. If you're not tuned into that game, Haynes King with the completion, 1st and 10 for Georgia Tech. Yep. All right, and Alabama-Wisconsin has begun. So We are a couple minutes into Alabama and Wisconsin, no score. And Georgia Tech's moving down the field already on Clemson, in Clemson territory on the 30-yard line. Wisconsin has the ball in plus territory right now. Completed pass, just crossing the 50-yard line. So it'll be the first drive for Wisconsin's making some progress into Alabama territory. Can't wait to see. Am I behind on that game? Ted, I apologize. It's possible that I'm behind on the game by a player or two. So that will happen in a live watch party. My stream might be a little bit slower. So it is 4th down for Wisconsin. The way that I'm seeing the game could easily be 30 seconds or more behind anyone, but feel free to say whatever you're seeing. I'm not looking for spoilers. That is why we will not do a Miami watch party, because I don't want to have something told to me beforehand. But in this scenario, we're just sitting at the proverbial bar, so to speak. Alabama returns the punt. They'll start on their own 39-yard line. Let's get some game cap stuff going here. You don't really need to see me large and in charge, so to speak. All right, so we'll do a little bit of some ESPN Gamecast on the screen. This is we see the plays going by. We're in replay on the Clemson and Georgia Tech game. Second down and 10 for Alabama. Simpson back to pass. Flag stops the play. Hey Ted, if you're still in the chat, give me a take on how impressed or not were you with the victory over Duke? Obviously, it was a big score there at the end. Duke looked like they were begging to give that game away. How are you feeling about your Illini as you head into week 3 here? And also, we had an interesting game later tonight, Minnesota and Cal. I'm very curious to see how that game goes with 5-star freshman quarterback Cal. JKS, I'll never say his name right, so I won't. Some injuries on the Minnesota side that are affecting their running game. Georgia Tech is driving. It will now be, I believe, 1st and 10 from the Clemson 12. Simpson carries the ball, gain of 6 or 7, but it'll be 4th down. Alabama should be punting. The Illini defense looks pretty stout, and Altmaier is very solid, but need to get their, but going to need a run game for 60 minutes to be a real contender. And then on the Minnesota side, row the boat Gophers. Look for Minnesota's D-line and secondary to be the difference in the game. Yeah, I'm also curious to see like how the Calgoritham, how they're capitalizing on their interest in their new quarterback, and do they start the season off strong attendance-wise? What the mix of that game is going to be. I think it might surprise people, but we shall see. Alabama goes for it on 4th and 2. It's incomplete. They were looking for a flag on the play. Did not get it. That seems both. I appreciate the going for it aspect, but I just also wonder if that reeks a little bit of desperation from Alabama going for it on 4th and 2 on their own side of the 50. Illini Ted says Duke was the better team in the first half. Fourth and 2 for Georgia Tech at the Clemson 4. And they are lined up like they're going for it. Pass, I believe, was incomplete. Turnover on downs. Clemson will take over on their own 4-yard line, I believe. And we're both in a TV commercial break on the two main games, the main noon kickoff games this morning. All right, sorry, I had to do some housekeeping there. Any fear of USF today? I do not actually have any fear of USF today. I think USF is a very good team. I believe that they are a very strong and likely contender for the G5 AQ spot. But I have watched both of their games. I think Boise State is not really that good this year. I think they're solid, but they're not Boise State the way we think of them. And I watched the entire Florida game, and USF definitely put it out there and stayed close, but Florida was terrible in that game and caused it's not fair to say they just gave it to USF, because USF did what they needed to do to win, and I don't want to take away at all from their victory. I think that they will have a great season. I just don't think they're staying on the field with Miami. I think Miami's trenches are way too much. I think it might stay a little bit close for the first half, but I do think Miami will pull away. That's what happened last year. Miami's defense is way better than it was last year. I would say USF's offense is marginally better. Their quarterback is somebody to be concerned with, and I think it might take a few series for Miami to adapt to his style. But I am scarily confident in the Canes even covering the spread today. I was that way on both Alabama and Miami. We'll see whether or not I am right on either. I also thought that K-State would finally win a game last night, and I was completely wrong. But did have Houston, so for whatever it's worth, that's where I'm at with that one. Alabama's 2nd and 9. Excuse me. Yes, Alabama's 2nd and 9 there. Going to 3rd down. 8 minutes to go. I'm not sure what to make of Indiana either. They've blasted 3 bad teams they played. It makes their margin of error really small for a playoff chance. I say it all the time, so if you happen to be catching this and you're a regular viewer, you'll know that I think Kurt Cignetti is a good coach. I just really don't like him. He's one of the coaches I least like in all of college football. And I thought it was excellent that he got owned by downplaying his schedule and adjusting the future only for the SEC to go to 9 games and require an additional out-of-conference game against the P4. Simpson back to pass, completed down the left sideline. Good gain for Alabama. It'll be 1st and 10 from the Wisconsin 35. Ty Simpson back to pass again. Complete to the right side. To Bernard, a gain of 6. Second and 5, it is actually. So it was a gain of 5. Ty Simpson pitches it off to the right-hand side. Will be just shy of the 1st down, depending upon where they mark him out. All right, 3rd and 2 for Alabama, 5:52 to go. Simpson rolls out to his left-hand side, complete for a 1st down to give him the forward progress. If you're in the chat, I just posted a poll. If you're over on Twitter and X, consider coming over to the CFB Xpress on YouTube. Let me know who you got. Posted a poll for the Tennessee-Georgia game. Just straight out pick. I'm wondering what everybody's thinking. First and 10 for Alabama. Question. As a Miami fan, what do you think of the kind of rumor out there started by Moen over on the College Football Mafia, where you can also find me tomorrow night with my buddy Moen on Moen After Dark? Last night, the Kansas and Duke are trying to beat teams 19 and 20 to the big. I think that I just am exhausted by all of the conversation, and if the powers that be go down that way, then it is what it is. I can't imagine that. I think everybody's grasping for straws, but I think it's possible. Anything's possible. I just don't see how Miami, if they continue to be doing what they're doing on the football side right now, plus the AAU and the other geographic things that benefit and market. But nothing shocks me in college football or the business of college football anymore. And I care because it's interesting, but I care less because it's the middle of the season. Alabama trying to score. It'll be 3rd down from Wisconsin 4-yard line. They can make a 1st down here. Man, the bots really kick in on college football channels as the season starts, with everybody wanting to know where they can find their streams, or at least proposing where they can find it. 3rd and 3 for Alabama. 4th and 3 for Georgia Tech. They are in field goal range. Alabama handoff. They'll be held short of completing the first down. It'll be 4th down, 4th and 1, and 4th and 2 on the 2-yard line. And Georgia Tech, with a 40-yard field goal, takes an early 3-point lead against Clemson in Atlanta. Yeah, Illini Ted says, I can't think that the media partners go for it. I'm with you, though. It seems like a lot of wild guesses hoping for something to stick. Alabama goes for it and touchdown. Take an early 6-0 lead. Jeremy Bernard, 2-yard rushing touchdown. Another call on 4th down conversion. This time they don't not have to worry about the first down, they score. So he gets the ball in right over the goal line. Clearly a touchdown. 6-0 Alabama. Sorry, Illini Ted. But I think it's a win-win for you too. Because you're a Big Ten fan, you can watch Luke Fickell suffer, unless you want him to stay because it just keeps Wisconsin middling. Alabama lined up for the extra point with 2:24 to go in the first quarter. And it is good. 7-0. Alabama takes the lead. Georgia Tech up 3-0 on Clemson. I guess the question is, if Clemson loses, I assume they're falling out of the top 25 on any of the sane voters in the Associated Press and Coaches poll, right? Georgia Tech, I believe, is in the others receiving votes category. I think they probably actually should be ranked, but, you can argue between 24 and 28. We have Wisconsin later, so if they implode, we could be the game before their coach is fired again. That would be really sad. I think the game of the day, if I were to guess, I have a feeling that Notre Dame Texas A&M might be the most interesting game when it's all said and done. I don't have any. I have a feeling as well that Tennessee's going to win that game straight up, but I'm not 100% sure. Preston Stone single-handedly ruining the Northwestern offense. They ran the ball well that drive, but Stone threw yet another pick. I thought it was entertaining if you missed it. Former Oregon quarterback Achilles Smith, when they showed some of the images in the leading days to the game of the Northwestern, the temporary stadium that's right on the shores of Lake Michigan. Right? Lake Michigan? I could be wrong. My geography could be off. I know it's one of the Great Lakes, but maybe I'm just off there. But anyway, essentially said, what an ocean view. So shout out to Achilles Smith. And I might have the lake name wrong, but I know it's a lake and not the ocean. All the Big Ten guys, I'm curious. There's a bunch of you in the chat relative to the size of the chat. What are you thinking about the conversations that came up this week about from Ohio State, talking about unequal revenue sharing coming up down the road, like has happened in the ACC? I've Seen some reactions to it from even Ohio State fans that they're not in favor of it, others differently. Wondering what your take is on that conversation. All right, second down for Clemson. 5.5 left to go in that game. They're can't get the yard line there. I think they're on their own 20 or 25 yard line. Own 25 yard line. Clemson takes over. It's 2nd and 6. Incomplete to the right side. It'll be 3rd and 6 for Clemson. Clemson's offense just is not getting going yet this year so far. Regarding potential Big Ten unequal revenue sharing, if it is done right, like just postseason, no problem. If it's full in, it will break it apart. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. The ACC had a much different dynamic when they had to do it because it was already being sued and broken apart. Big Ten isn't at risk of having any teams poached. But they are, theoretically, if they go down that road, in a place of contributing to, bigger brands wanting to leave and form super leagues or whatever that might be. Eventually, the competition level could get down. One could argue a couple of schools are not really trying to compete, but I think there's already unequal revenue sharing in general, right? Like Ohio State makes bank just because they're Ohio State, separate and apart from media rights deals. Just alumni base, merch, ticket sales, how much you can charge for ticket, how much you can charge boosters to get access to tickets. They're, even if everybody's getting an equal share of shared conference revenue like media deals, it's not a level playing field. It's more like the NFL. 2nd and 6 for Clemson. On the ground, they keep it. It'll be 3rd and 1. Actually, it'll be 3rd and 2. They mark it down. 3rd and 2 for Clemson. 3:54 to go. They're on their own 40-yard line. Need to get to the 42. Klubnik's back to pass. Complete over the middle. Gain of about 17 yard lines. It'll be 1st and 10 for Clemson on the Georgia Tech 43. Second and 10 for Clemson. Wisconsin will be getting the ball back here on offense. They've had a rough start to their season in terms of getting their offense really going. First and 10 for Wisconsin from their own 25. Inside pitch, no gain. Third down for Wisconsin here. Playing a fairly conservative, typical Wisconsin kind of offense for their game plan, which makes sense. Drops back to pass. Complete for a first down the right sideline. 1st and 10 for Wisconsin on their own 40-yard line. Second and 9 for Wisconsin. Both games are in a timeout right now. Yeah, I would agree, Ted. It seems like Wisconsin's just really trying to shorten the game, make sure they don't get blown out, don't get embarrassed, control the clock as much as they can. We'll see what happens ultimately on that. Fourth down for Clemson. Looks like they're sending in the field goal team here. Clemson lined up for a 53-yard field goal attempt. And takes a timeout, I guess. First timeout. So not sure what was going on there. They would look like they were lined up with plenty of time there. 3rd and 14 for Wisconsin. Clemson went for it, did not make it happen. Georgia Tech is 1st and 10 from the Clemson 49. 1 minute to go on that. Holding on Alabama will push them back. End of the first quarter in Georgia Tech and Clemson. Georgia Tech with a 3-0 lead. Depending upon where you bought this game, if you bet on this, you are either up 12.5 points or 5.5 points. First and 10 for Alabama. It'll be completed, just short. It'll be 2nd down. They're trying to move a little bit more tempo here. 2nd and 2. Simpson's back to pass, and he's going to be sacked for a big loss. Wisconsin. A loss of at least 10 on that. Simpson really had nowhere to go on that one. It was just straight up the middle. Third and 15 for Alabama. Complete over the middle. Gets most of it back, but it'll be 4th and 3. Let's take a look at the schedule. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit there. We have Oregon and Northwestern already underway. Not a lot of other super interesting games here in the 9 a.m. zone. A lot of the typical cupcake games, Missouri kicking off momentarily after their big win against Kansas, against Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. Penn State's got their third cupcake game in a row coming up at 12:30, but the main game there is number 15 Tennessee against number 6 Georgia. Texas Tech takes on Oregon State. It's had a rough start. USC heads to Purdue. Those are some of the bigger games there. Washington State with North Texas. And while I was looking for that, Alabama touchdown, 13-0, pending the extra point. Badgers are looking to hurt themselves. Simpson completed a touchdown pass on that one. Went to the 25, got 25 yards after the catch on that play. And Georgia Tech goes in for a touchdown on the first play of the second quarter to take a 9-0 lead. Bernard's having himself a game for Alabama already in that one. Jamal Haynes with a 5-yard rushing touchdown in the Georgia Tech game. 14:55 to go in the second quarter. Tech up 9-0 pending the extra point. Yep, a costly penalty for Wisconsin. They just keep doing that. Would come to expect it from a Luke Fickell coached team. And the extra point is good for Georgia Tech. 10-0. Man, Clemson's offense is on the side of a milk carton somewhere. Looking for, have you seen them? It's unreal how disappointing they have been. Between Clemson and Kansas State, my preseason predictions are completely out of whack. Don't understand what's going on with Clemson. It's early. They started slow last week. Maybe something changes, but I wouldn't give Tech the energy and the momentum. 10-0 at home. Brent Key is one of the better coaches in the ACC. Not looking good for our friends from Clemson right now. Though my friend Rec Talk, who's probably doing his stream on that game right now, is probably completely losing his mind on his alternate channel. What's up, Mario Christoghost? Yeah, man. Tech is a much better team than Troy, that's for sure. But I just thought that, a lot of teams played down to competition last week. As a Miami fan, we're used to that historically. Thought they would start off a little bit stronger. Clemson won't be able to drag themselves out of the hole, in my opinion. Their offense has not shown that ability yet to do that, so I think it's getting late early, as they say. Michigan proving they don't need their head coach when they're playing Central Michigan. Irony, of course, in that one, as they're up 21-0, I believe, or I don't know if I looked like it was 14-0 as they were going up 21, but it could have been just the replay showing it. But Michigan, as you would expect, taking care of business a week after losing to Oklahoma on the road. Klubnik's back to pass. Long pass down, way overshoots his receiver. Over the middle, was well covered. 2nd and 10 for Clemson. Alabama about to kick off to Wisconsin in the Xavier Horton NIL Bowl. Man, I'm surprised on that last pass that a penalty wasn't called. The wide receiver was hit high, body-wise. Wasn't helmet to helmet, but man, that was a dicey play there. Klubnik rolls out, turns it upfield, can't find anybody open. Not sure if it was a design run or not. It'll be 3rd down for Clemson, a pickup of a few there. Mario Christoghost comes in. To be honest, was never high on Clemson and always thought we had a better roster top to bottom, we being Miami there. Always thought Miami's depth was way better as well. I didn't expect them to look this bad, though. I would agree, but I was much higher on Clemson personally. So right now, I'm not looking too smart on that one. Oregon score is a little surprising. It's only 7-0 with 11.5 to go over Northwestern in the second quarter. That's a 24-plus point spread there. I would have expected. Oklahoma's up 18-0 over Temple. Michigan, as I said, is 21-0. Auburn is just getting underway. All right, let's switch over to this game there. Wisconsin's 3rd and 5. Northwestern is playing the same style as Wisconsin, and it's working better for them so far, clearly. Wisconsin drops the pass, screen back to the left-hand side, has a blocker in front of him. Nice gain. Oregon score surprises me, says Mario Christagoat, but I love to see it. Can't stand Oregon fans or their arrogance. Understand the feeling there. It's a 2nd down for Wisconsin. There was a flag on the play, waiting to see what it is. Jeff Grimes is in his first season as Wisconsin offensive coordinator. Good luck, bro. First and 5 for Wisconsin on the back of an Alabama penalty. Back to pass, rolling to his right. Little pass off into the flat. Gain of 3 or 4, depending upon where they mark him down. Sneaky good game today is Duke traveling to Tulane. Yeah, that is the I'm returning home to my former school game, which we see a lot more and more as the transfer portal kicks in. It's also a good measuring stick for Jake Retzlaff. It could have been a bigger game if Duke hadn't had 5 turnovers and let Illini pound them. But that's a close game. It's a 1.5 spread on that one. I don't know whether what to think of Duke, because Manny Diaz's past tendencies as a head coach with undisciplined team came out really for the first time. I don't remember them having a game like that last year when he took over for Duke, but that game made me think of his short tenure as the Miami head coach. Georgia Tech, a nice gain to the left side, 2nd down, 2nd and 2, on the move again. I mean, if Georgia Tech puts some points here, especially a touchdown, I just don't know if I see the comeback in Clemson. I just don't see it. I'd like to see a good game. You know, as a team, a fan of a team in the ACC, I want to see good games where other teams beat the living hell out of each other. Now, Miami does not play Georgia Tech or Clemson, so it's not like week 3 games going to impact anything should they be fortunate enough to make the playoffs. But, you know, the more carnage, the better. 1st and 10 for Georgia Tech. Clemson's defense, which theoretically should have been one of the stronger ones in the country with their returning production. I mean, they have a couple of people who are projected to be first-round draft picks on that line. Not really doing it. 1st and 10 for Georgia Tech on their own 40. It's 1st and 25, meanwhile, for Wisconsin, who has 3 penalties for 45 yards already. Oregon goes up, thanks Ted, to 10-0 on the strength of a field goal. 2nd down for Tech, 1st and 25 play for Wisconsin. Drops back to pass. Has some pretty good protection, but now moves out of the pocket scrambling. We'll pick up a few yards on that. 2nd down for Wisconsin. 2nd and 3, meanwhile, for Georgia Tech. Haynes King out the pass to the flat. Nice little short completion. Gain of 7. 1st and 10. Georgia Tech guy got lucky, didn't get called for unsportsmanlike conduct there. The post tackle swipe of his hand towards the Clemson defender, who thought he got a late hit, but you know, the last guy in could always be the one that causes the problem, so you got to be careful there. Third and 18 for Wisconsin, and its defense tries to get the Alabama fan base riled up. On 3rd and 18, just a short gain, 4th down for Wisconsin. 2nd and 8 for Georgia Tech on the Clemson side of the field right now. Haynes King back to pass. Completed pass, great catch by Taylor. Thrown behind him, but where nobody else could catch it. He would have had some room to run if the pass was thrown properly. But either way, it was a nice pickup for Georgia Tech. 1st and 10 from the Clemson 25-yard line. Handoff for no gain for Tech on 1st and 10 there. 4th and 12, Wisconsin punts and downs it at the 2.5, 3-yard line. So Alabama will pick up 5:43 to go in the first half. 1st and 10 on their own 2 or 3 yard line. If you're in the current chat, please take a vote on the YouTube side here. Let me know who you think is going to win the Georgia versus Tennessee game. Keep that one up for a while. If you're over on CFB Xpress on Twitter, please consider giving us a follow there, and then jump over to YouTube. Get in the chat so we can hear your reactions to both of these games as they go. Same thing with Rock and Rant. If you're on my Twitter handle, my X handle, please follow if you're not. And please consider coming over to the YouTube channel and at least give us a like and a subscribe, even if you're busy. We would appreciate it for sure. If you want to support the channel, you can do super chats. We're kicking off, starting our membership level. We'll be doing some original content that debuts for members. But glad to have you here watching either way. And if you could at least give us a like, we would appreciate it. Georgia Tech is in field goal territory now. Pass over to the left-hand side. Gain of another 4 on 3rd and 15. A safety play. Get themselves some more yards. Clemson will be lined up to kick a field goal. Put them up 13-0 with 8 minutes to go against against Clemson here in Atlanta. timeout for the Clemson Georgia Tech game. In a on-field timeout for Alabama. All right, Alabama, 1st and 10 from their own 2-yard line. Handoff, good gain, breaks it out to the right, gets them out of danger, gets a first down, looks like, or just shy. No, looks like the mark's going to be a first down, so they get to give themselves some breathing room. 1st and 10 from the Alabama 12-yard line or so. It is 13-0 Georgia Tech over Clemson. I'm wondering if Wisconsin might sue Alabama at halftime. Improperly leading ahead of the spread going into the half. Alabama completion Ty Simpson. It'll be 3rd and 2. Third and 3 with the mark. How bad is Oklahoma State is the question. They're really bad, but they might not be the worst. But they're definitely in the running for the top 3. We just did a video on this channel the other day. We created our new thing called the Trainwreck 5, which is our bottom 5. We all had Oklahoma State in various states of that 5 list. I think I had them at the worst. This was before, of course, the kickoffs yesterday. Oklahoma State, UCLA, Stanford. You know, then you start to get to like the disappointment, but they might be as super bad as you think. The Kansas States of the world, Virginia Tech, Oregon State. I have North Carolina on there. That win aside against whoever their cupcake, they were one of the most embarrassed teams. So they may not be the worst, but the definition of worst could be both a record of a signature of how bad they really are or how bad they are doing versus what you would have expected or what they're capable of even on paper. 1st and 10 for Alabama at their own 30-yard line. Clemson 2nd and 8 from their own 28. Simpson back to pass for Alabama. Complete to Williams and out of bounds. Another first down for Alabama. They're on the march. Klubnik back to pass. Over the middle, complete. It'll be a first down from the Clemson 36-yard line. So Georgia Tech up 13-0, 1st and 10 for Clemson, 42-yard line, 6:39 to go. Alabama up 14-0, 2.5 to go. They're on the Wisconsin 48, 1st and 10, man in motion. Simpson back to pass. Moves over to his right, scrambles a bit. Looking for some room to run, and is tackled for no gain. Just lost some time there on the clock. They have all of their timeouts. Definitely curious what happens tonight with Florida and LSU. That point spread has moved closer to Florida, surprisingly enough. Some places you'll see it at 6.5. It was started off the week about 9.5. First and 20 for Clemson after a penalty there. 13-0, 6:23 to go. Klubnik fakes right and trips up, and it was going to be down for a loss of 2 on that play. So it'll be second and 22. If you do get a chance to come back and watch any of the content on our channel, check out that top 5 train wreck teams, get the takes from Flo in general. There's a new feature for YouTube creators out there where you can give them hype on videos that are new, not live streams except for after the live stream. For the 7 days, it helps them get more visibility on YouTube. We'd appreciate that as well. What's up, Kaylani? Hard to see Florida going into Death Valley and doing well. Yeah, I don't really see that at all. I don't see that happening as well without any question. And we will see if we're wrong. But I think the parody ad that we did the other day that maybe I'll show when we're in a break of starting to raise some money to do the buyout for Billy Napier might get kicked into a high gear. They literally are playing 3 top 10 teams in the next few weeks. They have 6 or 7 more ranked games on their schedule as it currently exists. Brutal. They might not win 4 games. Clemson handoff up the middle. Great game. Breaking tackles. So on 3rd and 22, Clemson converts on a basically surrender play for a gain of, 30 yards. They definitely made the 22 back, and I think they got several yards past that point. So big defensive breakdown there for Georgia Tech. You can't let that happen on 3rd and 22. 1st and 10 for Clemson. 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Down 13-0. Next play for Clemson, gain of 8, 2nd and 2. So they are driving on Georgia Tech. They might make this game close here. Clock is running, 4:40 to go. Clemson's got 2 timeouts. Georgia Tech's got 3. Oregon still only up 10-0 in that game against Northwestern. Clemson is in field goal range. Klubnik takes it, runs it himself. He should have gotten himself a first down unless his knee hit sooner, but it looked like the ball forward progress past the first down marker. Simpson back to pass for Alabama on 2nd and 10. Over the middle. Great pass in the seam there. Down to the Wisconsin 30-yard line. We have a 1st and 10 for Clemson. That pass was completed to Alabama to Brooks. 1st and 10 from, I believe, the Wisconsin 30. 1:35 to go. All 3 timeouts available for Alabama. 32-yard line, excuse me. Man in motion. Simpson back to pass again. Over the middle. Completed to Riley, and man, that was a hit by Wisconsin on the tackle there, and he kept the ball. Like, that was a solid catch right there. Meanwhile, Clemson is now 2nd and 5 from the Georgia Tech 30, 3:14 to go. And I'm impressed that Riley held on to that ball. He juggled it a little bit, but he was on his butt. Ball never hit the ground. 1st and 10, Alabama. 1 minute to go, 3 timeouts left. Ty Simpson has been great on first down. Touchdown, Alabama. Pass from Simpson over the middle to Isaiah Horton. Miami transfer Isaiah Horton over the middle in the what I'm calling inaugural Xavier Horton NIL Bowl. Former Miami wide receiver with a big touchdown with 45 seconds left to go. Puts Alabama up 20-0 pending the extra point. Solid drive there for Alabama. They don't look like the team we saw against Florida State, or maybe Florida State made them look like the team that they did, but Florida State's that good. We'll still have to see as time goes out. Clemson is 2nd and 10 from the Georgia Tech 23-yard line. Handoff up the middle. Gain of a 3 or 4 yards. Second will be 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. 2:26 to go. 2 timeouts in hand. All right, let's switch. That's the drive chart going on right now with ESPN. 3rd and 5 for Clemson. We're at the 2-minute timeout, since we're not supposed to call it a warning for whatever known reason. While we're in TV timeouts on both games, kind of surprised here. You know, I mean, Oregon's up 10-0 with on Northwestern with 2 minutes left to go in the second. Would have expected, I guess, it's slightly different. I don't remember exactly what the line was. It was either 24 or 28. Can't recall variations in between. After their just brutal beatdown of the Mike Gundys in Oklahoma State last week. Clemson, we know what's going on there. Oklahoma's taking care of business, up 25-0 at Temple. 6 minutes left to go in the second quarter. That's covering the spread there, if I'm not mistaken. Michigan up 28-3. Early in the 2 minutes left to go in the first quarter, but Auburn only up 7-3 on South Alabama. Missouri's up early on Louisiana at 7-0. So those are all of the top 25 related games and most of the noon kickoff games. See if there are any other games of interest in another conference, even G6 that are, I wouldn't expect any problems for Baylor. Memphis and Troy, maybe that could be an interesting game just based off of what happened with Troy and Clemson. So we'll take a look at that, get that score in. Memphis is up 14-7 on Troy with 6.5 to go in the second quarter on that one. Memphis potentially a G6, G5, whatever you want to call it, contender for an AQ, depending upon what happens in the American Conference. All right, Clemson's back out after the 2-minute timeout, 3rd and 4. They have 2 timeouts left to go in their pocket. Be interesting to see what Dabo does here. They need to get their offense on track. All right. Klubnik in the shotgun. Receiver out in motion to the left-hand side. He drops back. Complete over the middle. And it'll be down at the 4-yard line of Georgia Tech. So 1st and goal, Clemson. 1:53, 2 timeouts. Clock stops on the first down there to get the ball reset. they'll have plenty of time to run whatever they want. They can do runs, they can pass, they have plenty of time available to themselves. Wisconsin takes the ball over, 1st and 10, short gain, 2nd down, 36 seconds left to go there. Clemson looks like they're going to take a timeout to talk it over. Actually, nope, that was Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech took the timeout, helped Clemson out a little bit. 2nd and 6 for Wisconsin. Alibaba 26, our friends at We Live for Saturday, check them out. I will drop their link in their channel in the chat here momentarily. Wisconsin's offense has looked terrible this year. They were supposed to be this efficient ground and pound offense, but they really can't. But they can't really run or throw the ball. It is now halftime in that game, and in honor of that comment, I think that this is a great opportunity. Let's see if I have it here to do. Let me switch things up for one quick second. Actually, no, hold on. Luke Fickles and his play calling, his offense, new offense coordinator, are just not doing a damn thing, really. Kaylani asking how I'm doing it. I have YouTube TV, and as my main thing. I did not renew Sunday Ticket, though. The prices got ridiculous, so I'm using other options to see any out-of-town games, primarily for me trying to either watch the Jets, but more so Cam Ward and the Titans. But yes, YouTube TV. Right now, there's not even worth having 4 games on, but I have 1 game on the big screen, and I have a separate laptop aside from my computer, watching those 2 games over here at the left-hand side. If there were more good games on, I would have 3 or 4 games up on the big screen to my left so I can catch them all. Illini Ted, great question. Who has a worse offense, Wisconsin or Iowa? It's got to be Iowa. I mean, Wisconsin has... You got to give it to Iowa just over history, right? Because every year we're told this is the year that they're going to have an offense. And they took somebody who theoretically was a pretty damn good quarterback with great stats, admittedly at FCS, but at one of the best FCS programs in America for the last decade, so not an outlier, and has turned him into somebody who's looking completely terrible. They're just dreadful to watch. It's not even... Sometimes you can watch a great defensive struggle, and it's really entertaining because the plays are great, and the defense, the scheme is great. Watching Iowa in any given moment is just... it's the college football equivalent of watching paint dry. Even when there's a team I like Iowa State, I've come to like a bunch of their fans. Matt Campbell's a great coach. That game was hard to watch. Kehlani comes in. I think Iowa's is worse. I am on the same page with you. Alibaba 26, Wisconsin is better than Iowa because Iowa doesn't have any receivers who can play. Yeah. I also wonder what's going on with Penn State and their receivers, too, despite going in the portal. Their offense does not look particularly great yet this year either, but they look like they look like Oregon compared to Iowa or Wisconsin, for that matter. All right, it's 2nd and goal for Clemson, 1:29 to go. Another timeout on the field. While we're doing that, let's drop in a link. Our friends at We Live for Saturday, Alibaba 26 in there. Give them a follow. Here's their link to their YouTube channel and podcast as well. A really good one. This is what you're looking for if you get over onto their channel. I suggest you guys all give them a follow, regardless of whether you're you don't have to be a Minnesota or a Big Ten fan. I think they just do good coverage, and you should definitely give those guys a follow and a like and a subscribe. Anytime, man, anytime. All right, 2nd and goal, Clemson, 1:29 to go. Tight formation, Clemson handoff. Try to run right at the middle. Looks like they were stuffed. I don't think they got there. They're going to be marked down at the half-yard line. Third and goal for Clemson. You got to go for it, right? Do you settle for putting 3 points on the board? Or do you go for it twice? Take the risk of going away with no points and the moral defeat there? Oregon goes up 17-0 right before the half. Kevin, thanks for joining us. I've not found any defenses that meet the fun to watch factor since Honey Badger LSU. It's hard to do. When you do it, it's great. It's awesome to watch. Clemson needs 6 here. I agree. All right, we got 3rd and goal. Handoff, I can't really see. Depends upon the mark. The way the ref came in, it looked like he might have had it, but they're coming in from the other side differently. I don't think they made it. It's 4th down. 4th and 6 inches. A foot. Or kick the field goal on 3rd and save yourself the embarrassment. Man, Clemson is like, they got to put like a detective to find where their offense went. All right, timeout there. Clemson's using... Actually, there's a review. So the timeout on the field is officials' timeout. I don't believe this is one of the games that the ACC is letting us listen in inside the replay booth. They agreed to do that for a few games, but it isn't for everyone. So they're under review to see whether he got in. It looks like the helmet got in, but I don't know how they would see that the ball broke the plane of the goal line on that one. We'll now wait 13 minutes for this to be sorted out for us all. Clemson's offense, Kailani says, and recruiting hasn't been the same since Tony Elliott left to coach UVA. Yes. The ruling on the field was the ball carrier short of the goal line. The review does not change that, so it's 4th and inches for Clemson. Pivotal play. I don't actually remember who received the ball to open the game to know whether they have a chance of scoring and then getting the ball back on the first possession of the second half. We'll have to, if somebody remembers, drop that in the chat. But 4th and goal. This is, a potentially season-impacting call here for Clemson with the way things have started for them earlier in this year. And Klubnik's in. So Klubnik leaps up and over, instantly throws the ball over, touchdown, 13-6, Georgia Tech likely to go into halftime with a 13-7 lead. So Georgia Tech received first, so Clemson's got a chance to come out of halftime with a smart plan and, maybe bring this game closer, take a lead after, a fairly dominating half by Georgia Tech, but field goals, man. You got to, when you're in these kind of games, you got to put the ball in the end zone. Could come back to haunt Georgia Tech. We'll see what happens. Their defense has played well, though, so you can't really take anything away from them. Extra point is good. So 49 seconds left. Georgia Tech, I don't believe, has any timeouts left. So we'll see what they do depending upon whether they are able to have any sort of return or not. When we get back to the Alabama game, Alabama receives in the second half. So they have a chance of, right now they are covering or right at the spread. Depending upon where you got it. I've seen it from 20.5 to 21.5. Kickoff for Georgia Tech in Clemson is out of the end zone. So Georgia Tech will take the ball over on their 25-yard line. We'll see if Brent Key is aggressive with the play calling here with Haynes King, who's had a really good first half, 12 out of 16, 129 yards. Through the air, 28 rushing yards. Outplaying Klubnik so far, though Klubnik has scored. So in our two main games, barring Georgia Tech doing something, we'll go in 13-7. Georgia Tech getting the ball in the second half. Alabama up 21-0, and they are getting the ball to receiving on the kickoff in the first half. Safe handoff there from Georgia Tech. They're clearly not going to do anything crazy here. I'm sure we'll just have one more play here, and we will go into halftime in that game. Yes, I did. Very, very not good. The attendance issues there are based off the results. You can only abuse your fan base for so long. It was a nice story when you bring somebody back to the program, but the results were, just have been horrific there. All right, we are at halftime in Georgia Tech versus Clemson. Georgia Tech leads 13-7. Alabama leads 21-0. The other games of even remote interest: Oregon's halftime 17-0 over Northwestern. Number 13 Oklahoma 25-3 over Temple in Temple. Michigan 35-3. And over Central Michigan and Auburn up 14-3 against South Alabama, just into the second. And Missouri's taken a 14-point lead over Louisiana. The Raging Cajuns, still some time left in the first quarter. With that, I'm going to take a quick break here. The stream will keep going. Please, if you're in our chat, like and subscribe to the channel. Help us with the algorithm for the second half. We greatly appreciate it. If you got any questions, drop them. If you haven't voted in the Tennessee-Georgia poll, please do that. If you're over on Twitter and X, please consider coming over to the channel for the second half and jump in the chat. Give us your reactions. I know later on my friend Greg Flugar and Peek Around the Corner is going to be doing some of the afternoon games from a live stream, so you might want to check those out. If you know Rec Talk, you might want to go check out his stream as well to see how he's losing his mind in the Georgia Tech Clemson game. on his alternate channel, as he got dinged for streaming last week during a game and showing the game in the background, which is why people like me don't show the game. We would, so we don't get nailed. But consider checking out Rec Talk's alternate channel. I think you could find a link on his main channel, and you can get a reality check on how a GT fan is feeling versus our more neutral coverage here. Anyway, I will be back in a few minutes. Hope you guys stick around. And oh, I didn't know that. He's at the game with Pete, so I guess he's not doing a stream. So I gave him a shout out. Thanks for letting me know, Kevin. I appreciate it. Rec Talk's a friend of the channel, great Georgia Tech channel. A little bit of a wild man. I'm interested to hear their play-by-play then later of how that game was and how their experience in Atlanta was game time-wise. So appreciate everybody from the GT side following and coming over. Thanks for joining, Kevin. Be back on in a few minutes, so go get yourself a drink. Again, if you're over on X, YouTube is where the conversation is at, so consider coming over while we're in our halftime moments, and we'll be back momentarily. Well, a hell of a lot of stuff can happen in just 34, 42 seconds of a game. Alabama comes out at halftime, 75-yard touchdown pass to Ryan Williams, and instantly we have Wisconsin answer. So it's 28-7. Alabama with the ball on their own 24-yard line. Crazy with the Badgers taking one to the house on the kickoff, just matching touchdowns. If you don't have offense, I guess you just keep scoring every single time your opponent does on the kickoff. But special teams breakdown there, great play on the Wisconsin special teams side to cut the lead back to 21. But they're still an inept offense so far, as our friend Alibaba 26 says. So all right, and Georgia Tech Clemson is coming back from halftime as well. Clemson should be kicking off. Actually, no, sorry, receiving. Georgia Tech kicking off to Clemson. Out of the end zone to be a touchback, so Clemson will start their attempt to catch up in this game on their own 25-yard line. First and 10 for Alabama, 12 minutes left in the first quarter. Thanks to everybody who's been sticking around through halftime. If you're over on Twitter or X, again, our ask is to come over to YouTube and get in the chat for the second half. Get your instant reactions. Would love your takes as well for the upcoming afternoon and evening games, whether it's Miami, South Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Florida, or Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Illini, Indiana, I believe, right? I don't know if that's this week or next week. I forgot on that one. I'll double check momentarily. We'll look at the afternoon schedule. But definitely your take on the early games so far and what you're looking forward to later on today. And still, we'll keep the vote up for the Tennessee-Georgia game up for a little while longer and then switch over. Second and 10 for Alabama from the Wisconsin 41-yard line. Simpson back to pass. Underthrows him. Great move. Deeks catches the ball. Deeks him out. Deeks the receiver out. Deeks the coverage out. Turns back around. Heads infield. And scores a touchdown. So Ryan Williams just completely owning his coverage there. Underthrown ball, comes back for it, makes a solid move, returns back into the inside, touchdown, Alabama, just like that. Ryan Williams, I guess he's not really injured. Thanks for clarifying, Ted. Illini plays Western Michigan this evening. Next week is the Illinois-Indiana game. So Alabama, just like that, we've had 21 points scored in 3 minutes and 58 seconds to start the second half. Alabama up 35-7. Clemson's driving. They're almost in field goal range. It'll be second down for them. Switch over to that one since there's some live gameplay there. Second down for Clemson. 2nd and 7. Klubnik fakes the pass, then goes down deep. Caught on the far left side, down to the Georgia Tech 8 or 9 yard line. Nice catch, a little bit 4 or 5 yards after the catch on that one. 1st and 10 for Clemson. I guess they marked him out a little bit further back, so they theoretically can get a first down. And meanwhile, Northwestern is driving in their game against Oregon. Clemson, Klubnik's back in shotgun, running back to up to his right side, hands it off, breaks a couple of tackles, gain of 3 or 4 on that, or 2. It'll be 2nd down and 8, it looks like. This game could get interesting here. And the Alabama game is wild in the first 4 minutes of the first quarter with 21 points up, but it's not really helping Wisconsin out too much. 2nd and 8 for Clemson. Interception. Klubnik throws into the end zone, picked off by Georgia Tech, returned for a gain of 55 yards. Wow, what a mistake by Klubnik. Huge play on defense for Georgia Tech. Saves a touchdown and puts them in great field position to start their first drive of the second half. I mean, great leaping interception. I don't think Klubnik even saw him. I think he was, focusing on his receiver, who was 10 yards behind where the interception took place. He's lucky he didn't return it to the house. Great play by Daniels on that one. Massive almost turnover there for Georgia Tech. They almost gave the ball right back. Huge loss. It'll be 2nd down. Haynes King was hit from behind. The ball went backwards. It was picked up by one of his own. There was nobody else from Clemson in the area as it went backwards, but lost in the play, 2nd and 22. They are lucky that they got the ball back there. Could have been just right back to Clemson on that. King back to pass, out of bounds. Receiver was out of bounds when the pass was completed. Don't really get that call there. All right, 3rd and 22 in the Clemson game. Wisconsin is 2nd and 2 on their own 35-yard line. Reverse flea flicker back to the quarterback, complete for like 4 yards. Might have been the most two handoffs, a flea flicker back to the quarterback for 4 yards, but they do get the first down. Defensive end Will Helt is down on the Clemson side. It's 4th and 25 for Georgia Tech. They will be punting. And 1st and 10 for Wisconsin on their own 38-yard line. Back to pass from Wisconsin. Wide open receiver. Late coverage. Is able to break up the pass. It's 2nd and 10. How hot is Luke Fickell's seat? Really? It's easy for others to dunk on him. I know he's on a lot of lists, but is he really hot? Like, what do you guys think is necessary for Luke Fickell to lose his job this year, whether it's in season or at the end? Like, what is there a record that makes him fireable? Is he not fireable because they're not ready to pay buyouts or anything else like that? I'm not intimately familiar with his contract. Alibaba 26 says he's not on the hot seat because the buyout is too big. There seems to be a few coaches like that in college football this year. And I wonder what the future of those kind of contracts are in the revenue sharing NIL era. A lot of coaches who probably should not command that kind of security have them. All right, third down for Wisconsin. If they have any hopes of turning this into a game, they really have no margin for error based off of how long they're taking to do anything. Third and 3 for Wisconsin. Flag on the play. I don't know if it was offsides, illegal substitution. We'll see. Another penalty on Wisconsin. Take that 3rd and 3 back to 3rd and 8. Illini Ted, programs agree, have to decide if that crazy buyout is too large for apathy in the fan base setting in. Yeah, there's a cost balance, right? There's probably a Goldilocks place where you can't risk it anymore. You don't want to have, 8,000 people in a 72,000 seat stadium, as an example, in game 3 of the season. Wisconsin does complete the first down, though, after that penalty. So good conversion there. 1st and 10 for them. First and 10 for Wisconsin. And we're in 2nd down for Clemson. Watching the Wisconsin offense, and it's not shocking, but they don't even have speed at the skill positions. Every play is so slow developing. Kevin says, I don't know many Wisconsin fans, so I could be wrong, but it seems like their fan base is more rationally patient than some programs, especially in the SEC. Yeah, I know a few, but not enough to make an assumption. It's also, there's a difference between patient and accepting, resigned to it. And just like that, Clemson ties it up. Cade Klubnik touchdown. 65, 70-yard touchdown, if I'm not mistaken on that one. To Wesco Jr., one of their premier wide receivers who was expected a lot of this season. Extra point pending. Clemson up 14-13. So despite a dominating first quarter by Georgia Tech, Clemson has come back similarly to how they did against Troy. Admittedly, Georgia Tech is a much better team. No disrespect to Troy, the Sun Belt Conference, but Clemson on the road, up 1 now over Georgia Tech. We got a game. In Alabama, Wisconsin just plowed into one of the officials. Hopefully he's all right. Their job's hard enough and their calls are bad enough. We don't need any rung bells making bad plays, but looks like he ran into one of the stronger ones. All right, 2nd and 6 for Wisconsin, the Alabama 21. Illini Ted. Wisconsin allowed time for Fickle to install a completely different offense. That patience seems to be wearing thin since it is failing. I don't know why they did that. You're Wisconsin. You always have to build an offense, I think, on what your recruiting base is going to help you. I mean, defense. It's just your roster, right? Like, if you're a national recruiting team, you can probably build whatever you want. But even if you're Ohio State, even if you're Alabama, under Saban, let's just do that, you're still going to have your areas that you're stronger in that you want to lean on when you're doing it. I don't think that Luke Fickell did that or thought about that, or that they thought it through of their ability to attract the people they needed to change the offense the way they did versus the whatever built-in advantage they had that they should capitalize and maybe tweak a little bit towards something that more reflected his thing. Like, that just didn't make sense to me, and it's so far not working. Meanwhile, took the old Wisconsin. Burt, meanwhile, took the Wisconsin style to Illinois, and you were seeing the results. Yeah, like, smart. Working in Illinois didn't really work in his previous SEC stop, right? All right, Georgia Tech coming back out onto the field with their offense. Haynes King, 1st and 10, 9:36 to go in the third quarter. And yes, Wisconsin, interception, unreal. Just when they're about to go in, Wisconsin's. I think they might sue over that one too. Stealing. Wisconsin is going to sue Alabama and maybe Miami indirectly just for existing, for stealing the football that was theirs. Georgia Tech Very lucky that their last play did not result in an interception. Look bad on offense. They're out of sorts right now. 39 for Georgia Tech. I know going 3 and out here right now for Georgia Tech would not be wise. The momentum seems to be shifting in this game. All right, it's 1st and 10 for Alabama from the Wisconsin 13. In blowout zone. Running the ball right up the middle at Wisconsin. Gain of 8. Kehlani says, haha, there are some Sue Happy athletic departments out there. Yes, there are. Second and 2 for Alabama. 4th and 9 for Georgia Tech. They're punting from their own 26-yard line. Clemson, good little punt return game, picks it up in their 35-yard line, brings it back to the 45. So Clemson will have good field position here. What are you guys feeling? You feeling the momentum shifting? Though we do have a flag in the Clemson-Georgia Tech game. How's that one feeling, since that's becoming more interesting to watch, and maybe become the one we focus on a little bit more here? Though I'm enjoying Wisconsin getting their ass handed to them. 52-7 score would be good for me. 49, 56, something like that. It'll be the 1 week that I can be happy for my niece who goes to Alabama. Simpson drops back to pass. Screen over to the left side. Gets to the first down, and 4 more. First down, Alabama. Yep, absolutely. I just like the pain for Wisconsin. Even though I have some people that I like, friends, alums, people I've just grown to know online, but I'm enjoying the beatdown. All right, let's switch to that tab. All right. Well, I kept that poll up for a while. In the Georgia-Tennessee game, we have a tie there, so maybe I'll do another one at the end. But everyone's split on Georgia-Tennessee. Let's see. I know if I do a Miami poll where it will go. So let's talk about the Texas A&M Notre Dame game next. So if you're in the chat, take a second and do the poll. Notre Dame, Texas A&M, straight up who you got. If you want to add some comments on what you think about the spread, which is 6.5, Notre Dame giving 6.5, feel free to do that. If you're over on X, would love for you guys to come on over to the YouTube channel and get in the chat for the last quarter and a half of these games, these noon games, in case something interesting happens, or just to dunk on a team that you want. And give us a like and a subscribe and a follow wherever you are watching us right now in the moment. Second and 6 for Alabama. 1 minute left in the third quarter. Comfortably covering the spread at the moment. One more score. We give everybody who has that game in any bets, picks, or parlays with the spread involved much more comfort. Pass out to the right-hand side. Gain of 3 or 4. It'll be 3rd and 3 for Alabama at the Wisconsin 28. I feel like the Notre Dame is the more desperate team. Plus, the game is at home. It's as close. It's close as they are evenly matched squads. But this is the type of game Notre Dame has won under Freeman. Yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to win this game. I think they're going to cover. They need to. I don't know if they can survive, even if they win the rest of their games. Losing to Miami and Texas A&M, even if the rest of their schedule goes to chalk. Boise State was a possible top 25 game. It's not now. Maybe at the end of the year it will look like it was. USC, could wind up popping up into the top 25, but is not currently. Their strength of schedule, even with a 10-2 record, and even though they have the brand of Notre Dame, it might not work this year to do that. Another penalty on Wisconsin. It's 1st and 10. I believe the penalty was on Wisconsin. 1st and 10 for Alabama. We got 3rd down in the Clemson Georgia Tech game. Third and 8 for Clemson. It's the end of the 3rd quarter in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 35-7. Klubnik back to pass. Well overshot his receiver. He's lucky it wasn't intercepted. There was only Georgia Tech coverage in the vicinity. Oregon starting to run it up, so doing what they should do. Just took them a minute. 4th and 8 for Clemson to punt. Caught by Georgia Tech. Coverage is good. Maybe gained a yard or two. There is a flag on the play. Penalty is a block in the back on Georgia Tech, so that'll push him back a little bit. Georgia Tech on 1st and 10. King keeps it. Gain of 5 or 6. Second and 4, Georgia Tech. Handoff to the right side. Picks up the 1st down and an extra yard. It'll be 1st and 10 for Georgia Tech as they try to come back from squandering a 13-0 lead at home against Clemson. King completes to the right-hand side behind the line. Short pickup, gain of 5, 2nd and 5. Let's get this feeling that Georgia Tech should have put them away and didn't. And now they might regret it. in case you're not watching the game, Clemson has 144 yards of offense so far in the second quarter. Georgia Tech with 4 total because they had some losses earlier. 6 minutes left to go. Haynes fakes the handoff, keeps it. Short gain, it'll be 3rd and 2. Kevin says, hopefully Clemson will do some Clemsoning. Look, it's a close game, so it's certainly not out of hand for anyone. But Tech's got to turn it up a little bit. They had the momentum. I just would like to see them get it back. The backyard brawl is today, Pitt at West Virginia, and they just announced that they've extended that series. There will be a break for a few years, but then they pick it up again in 29-36. Rivalries like that should never be put at risk like they've been recently. Injury on the field with Georgia Tech Clemson. They escorted Georgia Tech lineman off the field. Harrison Moore. 3rd and 2. Meanwhile, Alabama's 3rd and goal on their own 15, threatening to score again. Simpson back to pass, completely dropped by Williams in the end zone, right in his hands. 4th and goal. He's not going to be happy about that when he sees it later, unless I miss somebody getting in his way. No, I mean, perfectly thrown ball. No excuse for not catching that. None. Kevin says, I never thought this sentence would exist, but Vandy, South Carolina might be a fun watch. I think so too. I had higher expectations for South Carolina in terms of what I thought they would already be showing us on the field. Lenore Sellers as well, specifically as a quarterback, one of the players I was most excited for what we would see from him this season. Clearly it's very early, but I'd like to see some more from them. And, Diego Pavia, say what you want about him. He pulls some things off, and they made Virginia Tech look terrible last week, so that could be a good game for sure. Got another flag here in the Clemson-Georgia Tech game, a false start on the offense, pushing Georgia Tech further, not the direction you want to go. 2nd and 9. Alabama with the field goal puts them up 38-7, 31-point lead, beating most people's spread unless you decided to give them even more points to them. Just under 14 left to go in the 4th quarter there. Haynes King was back to pass, but he escapes, turns the ball upfield, gets to the 1st down, and about 6 or 7 more. Nice play by Haynes King, escaping the pocket pressure. From the outside, goes through the hole on the right from the over pressure, I guess. There's a different line for that, but you know what I mean. Over pursuit. He was able to slip inside the gap between the D end and the D tackle and make a nice play. Incomplete. On 1st down, Haynes King is slow getting up, though he is up, but definitely slow on that one. It'll be 2nd and 10 for Georgia Tech. Obviously, Georgia Tech cannot afford to lose Haynes King for even a series. Wisconsin takes over 1st and 10 from their own 25, down 31 points. Hate to see it, unless you love to see it. I love to see it. And on 2nd and 10, Haynes King is sacked. Big loss. It'll be 3rd down. After the vaunted Clemson defense really comes out and actually makes a play here. Actually, he wasn't sacked. I apologize. Handoff. Stop behind the line for a loss of 5. Loss of 6. 3rd and 16. Not a sack. I missed the handoff as I was looking at the Alabama game. Sammy Brown with the play there. 3rd and 16 for Georgia Tech. Haynes King back to pass. Pressure comes again. He escapes. Fakes the throw. Is going to be just shy of the 1st down. Maybe a yard, maybe 2, depending upon where he fell down. Looks like just outside of field goal range. I don't know if this is no man's land for Tech. They go for it. Do they try the long field goal to go ahead? It's 4th and 1. I don't see them punting. 4th and 1 for Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going for it on their own side of the ball. It's going to depend on the spot. I think that they probably got it. It'll be 1st and 10 for Wisconsin. 4th and 1 for Clemson, Georgia Tech. Timeout on this one. Georgia Tech's taking the timeout to think it over. Regarding the Texas A&M Notre Dame game, Kehalani says, hey, it's the 2nd season with Elko. I think he and his team make a statement today in South Bend. Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I don't personally see the game that way. I think that Notre Dame is a very good team. I think they are a playoff team. I think they lost because they played another very good team and a playoff team, and maybe a better team than even I as a fan would have hoped for in Miami. So I think that they were a top 10 team that lost to another top 5 team, and I think that they're a better team than Texas A&M. I don't see it personally. Wouldn't be surprised, but I don't see it. 2nd and 10 for Wisconsin, incomplete, a long drive. 4th and 1, Georgia Tech going for it, and is stopped. I don't even know if they got the handoff off, if there was a fumble. But Tech is stopped. Turnover on downs. Clemson will take over. I don't even know what the hell that was. Too much trickery. I need to see that replay. Alabama sacks the Wisconsin quarterback. It's 4th down. Yeah, that's ball never even got it anywhere on the Georgia Tech snap. I don't overthinking stuff. All right, so Clemson 1st and 10 on their own 41-yard line, 40-yard line. Good field position. Klubnik back to pass. Short pass deflected. Incomplete. In the Alabama game, Alabama's going to take over on their own 19 or 20-yard line. No return on the punt there. Man, Georgia Tech is I'm not falling apart. It's not the right word, but they're not making life easy for them. They had this game in hand. early, of course. Like, they play 4 quarters for a reason, so fill in whatever cliche you want about that. But they have definitely lost momentum from the end of the first half. If they wind up losing this game, they're going to kick themselves when they watch the tape, too. Third down for Clemson. Georgia Tech could make a big stand here on defense. It would definitely help. Winding down in the third quarter, under 2 minutes left to go. Third and 4 for Clemson. Klubnik back to pass. Incomplete. 4th and 4. Looked like that was a properly thrown ball. I got to see the replay. It was a little far on the small screen to see it, but Westbrook did not make the completion there. Right through his hands. Inexcusable for Wesco. Can't be as highly regarded as he is and drop plays like that. I could have caught that, and I suck. Exactly. How do you not catch it when wearing C-Tac gloves? Georgia Tech will take over after a fair catch on their own 9-yard line. 1:17 to go. Second down for Georgia Tech. A minute to go here in the third quarter. Short gain there. It's 2nd and 9. Haynes King back to pass. Short pass over the middle. He does his check down. Spreads the field out. Good run by the receiver. A lot of horizontal running, but got the angle to get him a first down. So it's 1st and 10 for Georgia Tech, giving them some more breathing room on their own 20-yard line. Alabama has the ball 1st and 10 on their own 23. This one, the Alabama game is over. It's really about what the final spread is, what the embarrassment is, and making sure that Alabama doesn't somehow give away the spread. And whether or not anybody who has over-unders cares or any betting, but there's no way Wisconsin's coming back in that game. I think it's a validating victory for Alabama, whatever you think of Wisconsin. It's a Power 4 team from the Big Ten. And perhaps makes that Florida State game, victory for Florida State, look stronger. For those who are wondering whether it was Florida State, whether it was Alabama, whether it was both, my guess is that Florida State is a better team than people thought, including myself. I will always own it. And Alabama is not quite as bad as people thought after that game. Maybe Florida State just played that well, plus is a good team. That's the end of the third quarter in Clemson. Let's check real quick to see if there's any interesting developments on the pretty meager early game schedules that we had here for today. 12:49 left in the fourth. We got Oregon up 31-0. That's covering the spread there for sure. Oklahoma doing the same in Philadelphia, beating Temple 35-3. Central Michigan with the expected romp. Auburn and South Alabama just starting the third quarter there. Auburn up 19 in that one. Missouri up 35-10. So nothing really surprising other than the only game of real note left in the early kicks would be Georgia Tech and Clemson as we enter the fourth quarter in that one. Both games are in timeouts right now. All right, we got 1st and 10. Georgia Tech at their own 49-yard. Pitch out to the left, short gain, 2 yards, 2nd and 8. Wisconsin is 2nd and 4. It'll now be 3rd and 4 with 8:46 to go. What was my take on Colorado and Arizona? Colorado doesn't have a quarterback. They have 3 quarterbacks, so therefore they have none. I don't know what's gone on with the Liberty quarterback, like why that's even a situation. I had high expectations for him. Staub had his moments as the third-string quarterback who started that game. They just don't have the dudes. They have no line. Dion looks lost. I also think him probably, being sick for a while, maybe there wasn't as much focus in the offseason or over the summer, which is understandable. Their DL needs some help. They need help in general. They don't have the playmakers, and their offense is unimaginative. Arizona and Houston, by the way, look good. Like, Wegman looked good, had his moments. I don't think they're great, but they're at least the middle of the Big 12 team. We'll see whether that is different as we get some more information over time. In terms of and I watched that game fully, and I also watched the Arizona K-State game because I wanted to see how stupid I am for having picked K-State to win the Big 12 to begin with. And it's 1st and goal for Georgia Tech, by the way, as I lose focus there for a quick second. K-State is like Florida State 2024 if it was a Coke Zero version that didn't get snubbed from the playoff the year before. They're a train wreck. I don't know what else to say about them. Everything I thought about that team is falling apart. Bad coaching, bad execution, disjointed team. I don't know if Arizona might be better than we thought or K-State is worse than we thought. We need some more information on Arizona. But, hey, props to that coach. A little bit under fire after just one season, after coming in late, replacing Jed Fish. But now 3-0. So let's see what happens with Arizona. I'm not ready to make a decision on what I think of them. Second and goal for Georgia Tech. Handoff off the middle, doesn't really get anywhere. Yeah, Haynes fell down. He could have scored for sure. 3rd and goal for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech in for the touchdown. They're going to go for 2, up 5. Wisconsin scores a touchdown, going to cut it to 38-14 with 5:29 to go. Let's hope there's not a bad beat. Reverse and then a pass. Great 2-point conversion there for Georgia Tech. Haynes King rolls to the left, reverses to his running back or wide receiver. I don't know who it was. Comes over to the right. Probably had a run pass option there. Wide receiver wide open in the end zone. Throws the ball as the defender's closing in on him. Excellent play. Georgia Tech back up 7 over Clemson. 10 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. Good game, man. Wow. It would be very interesting development if Georgia Tech were to hand Clemson their second loss on their season, the first loss in conference, though. Based off of the volatility of the polls right now, a very good chance that Clemson could fall out of the polls. We'll see what happens with the rest of the schedule today. But a 1-2 record after 3 weeks is likely not going to keep you in the top 25, should that come to pass. Long season, 1 loss in conference. If we get to that point, which we are not, plenty of time left. Things are definitely getting interesting. Alabama's going to take the ball over with 5 to play. For all the bettors out there, really, the game is definitely going to be an Alabama victory and a nice second win of more significance for Alabama. Really just about the over-unders and the point spread at this point. If Alabama were to give up that point spread cover, definitely be a bad beat in the closing minutes. Could be on Scott Van Pelt at some point. Up 24. So right now they are covering that spread. Handoff on the Alabama side. Gain of 5 up the middle. All right, 1st and 10 for Clemson. Handoff around the outside to the far sideline. Gain of 13. It will be another 1st and 10 for Clemson. We have Alabama's got 3rd and 1 at their own 35-yard line. Trying to take as much time off of the clock, it seems, wisely. Clemson, another handoff over to the left side. Gain of 6 to Randall. Another handoff for Alabama. Cuts right, then cuts to the left. Big, wide open lane. Pushed out of bounds at around the Wisconsin 42, but there is a flag on the play with 4:06 to go up there. 2nd and 5 for Clemson. Klubnik keeps it. Be just shy of a 1st down. 3rd down Clemson. 4:06 to go. 3rd and 6 for Alabama, Wisconsin. Alabama with the ball. Third and 2 for Clemson. They split out the wide receivers right, spread that formation. Klubnik back to pass. Sees an opening, runs it right up the middle, and more. 1st down, plus an additional 8 or 10. They're just outside of field goal range. Inside Georgia Tech territory. First and 10 on the Georgia Tech 40. Klubnik out to the left side. Split. Quick pass completion. Gain of 5 or 6 there. 4th and 6 in Alabama. They'll be punting with 3:38 to go, up 24. Wisconsin will take over in their own territory. 3:31 to go. 3 timeouts. Down 24. It's all for show. It's all for the spread now at this point. Clemson around the right side. 3rd and 1. 7:04 to go. Wisconsin gets the first down on 3rd and 1, 2:26 to play. Clemson's whole season hangs in the balance right now. Yeah, I think it's really down to that. I mean, look, the ACC, a lot of crazy things can happen. Unbalanced schedules. They could still make their way into the conference championship game and just earn it that way, but it certainly is limiting their at-large possibilities. First and 10. Clemson converts the 3rd and 1. Klubnik keeps again. Would be second down. Looks like about 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7. Taking a lot of time off the clock as well, under 6 minutes. Be nervous if I were Clemson. I always try to game out like what's the time clock here, the way that they're running down. And yes, they have 3 timeouts left, but if they wind up scoring in under 4 minutes, Georgia Tech has a lot of control there. Klubnik in the air, completed. Looks like the Westcott Jr., if I'm not mistaken, down the left side, 1st and 10. Nice pickup there. Yes, Westcott Jr., wide open. 1st and 10. They can get a first down. They're on the Georgia Tech 12-yard line. Under 2 minutes to go in Alabama, Wisconsin. Wisconsin still has the ball. Clemson, nice pickup. 7 or 8 yards. It'll be 2nd down from the Georgia Tech 5-yard line. Under 5 to play in that one. Klubnik keeps it. No gain on 2nd down out around the left end. Under a minute now in Alabama, Wisconsin. Wisconsin with the ball, 3rd and 7. 3rd and 2 for Clemson at the Georgia Tech 5-yard line. Under 4 to play, 3:45 and counting. Klubnik throws it. Incomplete, but penalties in the end zone. Pass interference or holding likely. It'll be 1st and 10 for our Clemson here. Wisconsin converts likely the last first down of the game for them. 17 seconds to go. Barring something strange happening, Alabama will win 38-14 in that one. And that's it. It's a final in Alabama. Alabama 38, Wisconsin 14. Alabama by a nice 24 points. If you have Alabama covering, like I did, you're very happy right now. The Luke Fickles go to 2-1. Alabama moves to 2-1. All right, 1st and goal. 3:35 to go. Clemson on the Georgia Tech 2-yard line. Klubnik rolls to the right. Looks like an RPO. Over the end zone, in the back of the end zone, over 2 different other receiver options. Pending the review, touchdown, Clemson. A point away from tying it up and giving the ball back to Georgia Tech with 3:29 to go. We're going to have a great finish here. Josh Sapp, 2-yard receiving touchdown. It looked like an RPO for Cade Klubnik. He had 2 or 3 receivers right in the same vicinity. I'm wondering about those 2 routes because, man, they almost hit each other there. Their defenders actually knocked right into each other. So, and I don't know that was necessarily completely intentional, but it might have been just a great play design there, doing exactly what it was supposed to do. So, pending extra point, Clemson potentially going to tie it up here with 3:32 to go. Georgia Tech, I believe, has 2 timeouts left. Looking at the replay right now, he definitely had a foot in and maintained control. So unless they have some super weird angle and we missed something as he fell to the ground, he moved the ball out of his ground hand, which is a smart move. Looks like he had maintained control to the ground, so I'm sure they will review it in ACC style, and I also will be the first to admit that I don't know what a completion is anymore in college football and the NFL to a lesser degree. And as expected, it's under review. Good 41 minutes away from kickoff in Knoxville. Georgia and Tennessee, number 6 Georgia at number 15 Tennessee. Kevin says the announcers, I'm not listening to the announcers, so thanks for giving me an update. They're saying the ball was moving. The definition of a catch seems to be a moving target. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the replay where it's big enough in my eyesight to see what did or didn't happen after we saw him get his foot down and come up with the ball. And this is one of the ones where the ACC is letting us hear inside everything, right, Kevin? I'm just turning the volume up right now for a moment so I could try to hear it. All right. Looks like it's going to get overturned. All right, so play is overturned. If you weren't watching the game, you can go back and watch the replay. You'll hear the conversation that they had in the ACC Operations Command Center. All right, we still got second and goal. 3:29 to go for Clemson. Obviously, they got 3 shots here. Handoff right up the middle. All of that time for nothing. Cost Georgia Tech 3 seconds ultimately. Off the clock. Adam Randall, 2-yard rushing touchdown right up the middle. And we're right where we were before the interesting look, I guess, behind the scenes for the Operations Command Center of the ACC. Clemson up. Clemson getting ready to tie it pending the extra point conversion. Georgia Tech will get the ball back with 2 timeouts and 3:26 to go, only needing a field goal. So plenty of time for Georgia Tech to do something. So we'll see what kind of magic Haynes King has in. If not, we still absolutely have the potential for an overtime game here. You know, Vegas is sometimes wrong, but man, they are pretty damn good about nailing these games. So this was, again, the closing line I saw was 2.5 points, Clemson minus 2.5, so we're right within that range of it. We're about an hour and 20 minutes away from Miami USF on the CW, looking into that game a couple of weeks ago, not knowing what was going to happen. And of course, we have 35 minutes or so away from Tennessee and Georgia in a pivotal matchup in the SEC in conference play. How you feeling, Kevin? How you feeling, any Clemson fans? What are you guys thinking? So get ready to wrap up right after this game comes to a conclusion. Thanks everybody who's been watching. If you are on Twitter and X and you've been watching there, would appreciate, whether it's now or later, if you come over to YouTube and give us a like on this. Potentially subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Check out some of our content. We'd greatly appreciate it. At a minimum, at least hit the like or follow button on whichever account you're following there. And if you're watching, and there's a lot of people who actually watch these on Rewatch, which is amazing. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well to our channel. We cover national college football all season long and all off season long. There is no off season for us. Our next regular show will be on Monday night. It's called The Aftermath, where we give ourselves 48 hours to think about all of that weekend's games, see what the poll is, and have a more potentially measured reaction to what developed and what we're looking forward to for the next week. Kevin says, I still haven't recovered from the last overtime game we had versus Georgia. No rest till 0. Yeah, man. Well, I always forget. I know it was 7 overtimes. I watched the whole game. It was an amazing game. 7, 8 overtimes, whatever it was bonkers. And with 3:26 to go, Georgia Tech will take over on their own 25-yard line. Chance to not go too conservative, move the ball downfield, take time off the clock, ideally score a touchdown and not put it in your kicker's hands, but at least get into that. Then we have a bunch of really great games coming up. We got the backyard brawl, West Virginia Pitt. We got Tennessee and Georgia. An hour later, Miami and USF will kick off. So a good afternoon slate of games before we get to the nighttime extravaganza as well. Haynes King keeps it. No gain. All right, 2nd and 10 for Georgia Tech. Complete over the middle, gain of 8 or 9. It'll be 3rd down for Georgia Tech. We have a timeout on the field, injury on the Clemson side. If you're looking for another watch party to check out for the afternoon games, you can go to Peek Around the Corner on YouTube. I'll drop that link in the chat here over on our YouTube channel. Just search Peek Around the Corner on YouTube if you're coming over from X and you want to see some coverage of the afternoon games and jump into a chat while you watch along. That would be my place I would tell you to head on over to. 3rd and 1 for Georgia Tech, 2:35 to go, as they try to get themselves into at least field goal position, wind down some of the clock, and walk away with a big ACC victory from their own 34-yard line. Yes, and Clemson does lose a timeout with the new injury fake prevention policy, timeout using even if you're about to die model. First and 10 for Georgia Tech. 2:09 to go. We'll see if they get a playoff before the 2-minute timeout. I'm guessing they'll be satisfied and step aside and come back with the plan of what they're going to do in the final 2 minutes with 2 timeouts left and just needing a field goal to win a big ACC conference game with rivals Clemson Tigers in Atlanta. I would also encourage you to check out Rec Talk's channel sometime later today, I'm sure, whether it's on a short, a stream, or a video. I'm sure he's going to have a pretty lit reaction to this game, win or lose. Been a really interesting game, this Clemson Georgia Tech one. In a commercial here. No other really interesting games going on score-wise. Just blowout city for the most of the top 25. Oklahoma running away with it as expected against Temple, 42-3. Auburn up 16 against South Alabama in the fourth quarter. Missouri up 45-10. You missed it last night. You, of course, had Arizona beating Kansas State, handing them another loss. Colorado losing to Houston in the Big 12 side of the equation, with the rest of the schedule there to kick off today. Baylor earlier beat Samford 42-7. Totally expected victory, of course, there after their win last week. On the ACC side of the equation, everything else is, launching later, other than Virginia blowing away William and Mary. Nothing to write home about on that one, of course. On the Big Ten side, Nebraska abusing Houston Christian, Maryland beating Towson handily. All expected, no random upsets. Oregon beats Northwestern 34-14, and Michigan ran away with it against Central Michigan. All right, so back on the Georgia Tech Clemson game. We've got 1st and 10 coming back from the 2-minute timeout for Georgia Tech on their own 43-yard line. Handoff right to the running back coming out of the pocket. Nothing there. I don't even know if he made it back to the line of scrimmage. All right, 2nd and 11, loss of a yard on that play. 1:27 to go, time ticking. Not a lot of urgency here for Georgia Tech. I know they have 2 timeouts, but still. Haynes King might have actually gotten the first down by being tackled and pushed out of bounds ahead of it. He was probably not going to be able to change his momentum to stay in bounds, but I wonder if he actually got the first down. Either way, a good pickup, either 1st and 10 or it'll be just shy. 3rd and 1. Did not pick it up. 1:10 to go. Clock stopped on the out-of-bounds play there. Man in motion. Klubnik keeps it. Haynes King keeps it. Gets the first down. Picks up an extra 2. It'll be 1st and 10. Clock stops momentarily to reset the chains. 1:04 to go. All right, another run up the middle. Offensive line pushing him forward, but the ball was ruled down. So it'll be 2nd down for Georgia Tech as they get closer and closer to the field goal career long marker. So the green line, if you're watching the game, that's career long. If you're not, we're like 5 yards away from Georgia Tech's kickers past career long. You'd like to get certainly further inside that than relying on that if you're Georgia Tech. Second and 7, 40 seconds left to go for Brent Key and the Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck, the Yellow Jackets, if they want to pull this out without having to go into overtime. But overtime is definitely a possibility as we sit right now. All right, 2nd and 7 for Georgia Tech. Haynes King, only one in the backfield. Man in motion, crossing in front of Haynes. He keeps the ball, runs up the middle, gain of 4 or 5. It'll be 3rd and 3. They're still about 4 yards outside of the career long of their field goal kicker. 26 seconds left. They're not really taking any degree. I don't really understand what they're doing. They must feel very comfortable with their field goal kicker outside of his career long. The field goal kicker, they have a stat up right now, 7 out of 8 on game tying or going ahead field goal attempts. So he's definitely a clutch kicker, but you'd like to get him a little bit further than relying on his career long. So we got 3rd and 4, 26 seconds to go. Georgia Tech is out of timeouts now. I don't like the play calling here in the last few plays. Obviously I do not know the range of this kicker, the comfort level they have, the win right now, I'm not there. But it's super conservative to me. I would never want to rely on a game-winning kick from outside of your kicker's career long, even if they're capable of it, when I think they probably could have been still cautiously a little bit more aggressive with some of the play calling without putting themselves in a bad spot. But you know what? They're just one kick away from proving me wrong. 3rd and 4. Unless they get the first down here, they're going to be rushing out for a field goal. Clemson might take a timeout to get themselves situated. Haynes King fakes left. He gets pummeled. Gain of 1. Georgia Tech's going to have to rush out onto the field with 12 seconds left to go to kick the potentially game-winning field goal. 7 seconds left. They're lined up. 4. Snapped on 4. And the kick is good. Just inside the right goalpost. Literally, as time expires, Georgia Tech beats Clemson. Career-long field goal for their field goal kicker. Georgia Tech beats Clemson. Clemson off to a start that they could never have expected. Georgia Tech stamps themselves as a contender in the ACC. You got to say right now, after week 3 morning games, you've got Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, clear-cut 1, 2, and 3. SMU, Clemson behind there with losses. Clemson with their second loss, their first loss in conference, and Louisville. Not looking great, but still certainly somebody to consider. Shout out to Georgia Tech. Way to pull that off. Way to make me look wrong there at the end with what I thought was a little bit too conservative play calling. That ball would look like it was drifting right a little bit, but came back in. Didn't just sneak just inside, but it was pretty close. It was a little uncomfortable there, but it doesn't really matter which way it goes through as long as it does go through. So, wow is right. Georgia Tech 24-21 final in Atlanta. Georgia Tech moves to 3-0, and Clemson, preseason number 1 for some, almost universally top 5 preseason, is likely to fall out of the top 25. At best, they'll be in the end of the top 25, and people will be pissed because they'll be 1-2 with 2 losses in 3 games and still ranked. Highly unlikely. I think they fall out. And they are rushing the field in Atlanta. Party's going to be on in downtown Atlanta tonight. So congrats, Kevin. Congrats, my friends like Rec Talk out there, all the Georgia Tech fans. I don't know what to tell you guys at Clemson. I'm not going to dunk on you. One of my preseason predictions was that you guys not only would likely win the ACC, but were going to go to the playoff final. I'm glad I didn't actually put anything on that other than bold predictions online. I can take that. I'm glad there was no money involved with me, but I'm not looking good on that one right now. So with that, I'm going to wrap this one up. Again, appreciate everyone who's joined us on Twitter, X, or over here on YouTube. If you're still here, please hit like, hit subscribe. Head on over if you want to watch a watch party to CFB, Peek Around the Corner, Greg Flugar. I know he's doing some stuff in the afternoon. Tell him Rock and Rant sent you. And enjoy the afternoon games. I know I will. And congrats again to Georgia Tech. Next time we are scheduled to be on, that who knows, there could be a reaction later on tonight. Will be Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, the aftermath, me and Miami Flo, talking about all the games, the rankings, the reactions, what's happened with 24 to 48 hours of watching some game film, seeing what the polls do, what our own top 25 would look like from our point of view. And you can also check me out on the College Football Mafia tomorrow night with my partner Moen at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we'll get into all those games as well. So, wow. Congrats, Georgia Tech. Again, the final 24-21, Georgia Tech over Clemson. Thank you, Alabama, for covering the point spread. Greatly appreciate the beating you gave Wisconsin today. Sorry, Badgers fans. There's no love here. Drop the lawsuit, and we can be friends again. Other than that, hope your team wins. Unless, of course, you're a South Florida Bulls fan. Can't root for you today. The rest of the season, yes. But today, it's great to be a Cane. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.